Hello, my name is Cameron Marks, and I am a sophomore from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and this is my sport media final presentation. So our first project was an interview with a sport media professional, and for my project, I chose to interview Mika Stout. Mika is a social media professional with a college sports team, and he's been doing that for about 2.5 years now. And he was a great person to interview just because he's been doing it for a while now, and he's just been regarded as a professional in his field. He's well respected among everybody that works with him. Now, the interview was great. He gave me a ton of great advice. He helped me learn a lot that I wouldn't think would happen with being a social media professional, and even things that I did know already. He helped me understand even more why they're so important. He told me a ton of skills you need, why you need them, and how to better yourself in the social media world. But I think the best advice he gave me is to remain current in social media trends that are going on now instead of focusing on the past. He said that if you continue and stay on one social media trend for a long time, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities to better yourself, and that could impact your future jobs down the line. He said, if you do not remain current, then you're just going to flatline. You're not going to go higher than what you want. You're just going to stay right where you are. And I feel that if he had not given me the advice he did, because of the advice he gave me, I feel like he would be a great mentor to have if I were to ever take up social media as my career path. And because of him, I feel like I learned enough to where I could possibly do that. For our coaching interview, I decided to interview someone from back in my hometown of Parkersburg. I interviewed Brian Crislip. Brian is the head coach at my school's old rival, Parkersburg High School. I attended Parkersburg South High School, and I've known Brian for a long time. He never got the chance to coach me, and I never got the chance to play for him, which is kind of sad, but I've always enjoyed being around him and learning from him. But when I interviewed Brian, first off, let me give you a little background on him. He was a Division I basketball player at Florida Gulf Coast University, was the first person to ever go on scholarship there for their basketball program. And after his playing days there, he went overseas and played for several years, and then returned to play in the NBA G League, which was formerly the Development League whenever he played, but is now called the G League. And then after that, he retired and came back home to coach. And he gave me plenty of great advice, because that's what I really want to do with my life. Is I want to be a basketball coach at some point, whether that's high school, college, professional, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to be able to coach basketball. And I feel like he gave me a ton of advice that helped me learn about what it's going to take to be a successful coach like he has been. And I think the best advice he gave me was that the most important part of coaching is adjusting your system to the personnel you have, and not forcing your personnel to change to a system. He told me that this is important because if you force someone to change something into something they're not, they're going to lose their desire to play the game. They're going to stop loving the game of basketball, and overall it's just going to make them quit and resent the game. And I feel like that's true. I've seen it plenty of times with coaches I've played for. I've seen players who just don't fit in the system, and it just makes them lose their overall love for the game. And I feel like that's a big step in Brian's coaching career, is just figuring that out and helping other young aspiring coaches like myself realize that. And another great piece of advice he told me was to never hang your head after one loss. He said, you're never going to go undefeated in a season. You're never going to win every game. That's just not going to happen. You might have really good seasons, you might have really bad seasons, but no matter what happens, don't hang your head after every loss. Stay positive, because at the end of the day, you are a role model to your players, and if they see you hanging your head and upset after one loss, then they're going to do the same, and it's just going to bring down their morale, and they're not going to want to play anymore, and they're going to get down on themselves and possibly quit on themselves and on the team. And you don't want that as a coach. You want to make these kids as happy as possible while teaching them the game of basketball. So I think it was a great interview for him. That's him right there. I couldn't find any pictures of him actually coaching high school basketball. There wasn't any on the internet, so I just used one that I could find. So for the audio play-by-play project, this was my favorite project to do. I just really enjoyed this. I partnered up with Steve Hall, and we watched the Brooklyn Nets and the Sacramento Kings play a couple weeks ago, and that's their logos right there. And it was actually, me and him partnered up a couple weeks before the assignment were due just because we looked ahead and saw it, and he went ahead and picked this game. And we actually kind of got lucky because the NBA trade deadline happened a few days before these two teams played, and they made some big moves that gave us a lot to talk about during the presentation. But we both had a great time doing it because we just got to watch the game and commentate and pretend like we were Mike Breen or Mark Jackson commenting on the game. And it was a difficult thing because you never realize how hard it is not to just be a fan of the game, that you have a job to do, which is appeasing your audience and making them feel like they're right there sitting right next to you. And though it was difficult, it was fun to see how a game is other than just being a fan. Like, having a job to do with the game was just fun, even if we were just sitting in our dorm doing it. But overall, it was just great because we had our spotting boards and could tell you different facts about different players that may not pertain to basketball. Like, for example, during the game, Sacramento Kings traded for a player from the Indiana Pacers named Domantas Sabonis, and I had a fact that his father played in the NBA about in the 90s and early 2000s, years before he did, and I just thought that was pretty cool to do. So overall, this was my favorite project because it opened up my eyes to a possible career path that I never considered. For the social media event coverage, we had to tweet 20 tweets about a sporting event that we attended in person. So for me, I chose to attend a men's volleyball game between the University of Charleston and St. Francis University of Brooklyn. And it was difficult for me to complete this project because I'm a basketball guy. I really don't know that much about men's volleyball. But because of this project, I got to learn a lot about volleyball that I never would have had I chosen a basketball game. So I actually ended up enjoying the project towards the end. And so for those tweets, we had to do 3 tweets pregame to try to get people to watch the game. And during the game, we had to do 15 tweets of score updates, stats, what was going on, and just other ways to try to get people to watch the game or at least pay attention to the scores. And then we had 2 tweets post-game to wrap up what we saw and what we thought and the final score, obviously, of those games. And it was also difficult because it was hard to update fast enough for these people to keep it at game time. And it was also difficult to remember to tweet these tweets because the game is just so fast paced that it was interesting to watch, and you couldn't take your eyes off it for that long, or else somebody was scoring a point. But at the end of the day, I think I did a pretty good job on it and really enjoyed it. So our final project was to launch a social media campaign for several prompts presented to us in the grading criteria. And I chose the Nike one, where I was supposed to start a social media campaign for Nike launching a new Kobe Bryant shoe. And that's a picture of Kobe and his daughter Gigi, who they both sadly were killed in a helicopter crash about 2 or 3 years ago. And I chose this project in particular, or I chose that prompt in particular because I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan growing up. I always had his jersey, had a couple of his shoes. would watch all of his games, and when he died, it made me extremely upset. And to this day, I'm still shocked about it. I can't believe it. But anyway, back to the project. It was a fun one. You never realize how much goes into a social media campaign. Before starting this project, I had the belief that all the social media campaign, you just have to buy the ads, post on social media accounts. I never realized you have to help with the designing. You can't just sit there and rely on designers. You have to approve it. You have to help with the design of everything. You can't just sit beside and watch, and then post a picture or ad whenever they tell you to. And this would be a interesting career for me too. I'm not the most creative person when it comes to designing and being creative with just different things. And this job requires a lot of that, but this project allowed me to be a little more creative than what I'm used to. And I showed that I potentially could have a future in this career path as well, just because I enjoyed it and saw what it took to create that. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.